everyone. Welcome to this edition of Grantek's You Asked, We Answered. Now, You Asked, We Answered is a series where the Grantek team discusses and answers questions asked by our clients, LinkedIn followers, and others in our industry. My name is Logan Terry. I'm a client success manager here at Grantek. I'm based out of our office in beautiful British Columbia, and I've been with Grantek for about 6 years now. Throughout that 6 years, I've spent time across different departments, including our engineering department, designing control systems, implementing and developing PLC and HMI applications. I've also spent time in our project management group, managing projects anywhere from small controls optimization jobs to large greenfield pharmaceutical implementations. But more recently, I've joined our client success group, where my main goal is to make sure that our clients, you guys out there, receive the value that you expect out of your integrator. Now, as of late, many of the conversations that I've been having with our clients involve hardware procurement and the current supply chain issues the manufacturing industry is facing at large. Now, if you look a year ago, common automation and controls hardware would typically have lead times around 2 to 3 weeks in most cases. For some specialty items, you might see that creep up towards a couple of months or more, but not very often. Now, ordering hardware today is a completely different story. Countless devices across almost all vendors, items such as VFDs, I/O modules, PLCs, network switches, or even things as simple as contact blocks can see lead times beyond 4 to 6 months. And the one common question I get from almost everyone is, how do we expedite things? Well, today, we're going to talk through some of the strategies that we here at Grantek use and some of our offerings that you might be interested in if you've been asking this same question lately. Now, spending time as a project manager, I quickly learned about the triangle of project constraints. Now, the three sides of the triangle equate to budget, schedule, and quality. And the general rule of thumb is you can't impact one without adjusting the other two. Now, that means in most cases, if your project is at risk of schedule overruns, you can typically spend a bit more for additional resourcing or overtime to speed things up. However, lead times, hardware lead times, completely different. If you have required components, paying more now will not necessarily improve the delivery date if there's simply no stock to provide. Now, that being said, there are some things that Grantek can do to help reduce project risk associated with these long lead items. First and foremost, there is no better risk mitigator than being able to act early. Getting a high-level design in place as early as possible will allow you to identify key components you need, determine the lead times for those components, and order all long lead items. That's the best way to keep a project on schedule. The earlier an order can be placed, the earlier the hardware will be available for install. Now, to help with this, Grantek can provide preliminary electrical design services to get the major controls components defined and get those same components ordered for you. You can spend a little bit upfront now. It'll not only reduce the cost of the remaining effort, but it will greatly streamline the procurement phase so you can implement a project when you want to and not when you get the hardware. Second, and as everyone has seen, not all projects allow for sufficient upfront engineering time. It's not a perfect world. Things don't always line up that nicely. Often, the timeline constraints are so tight that even when ordered as soon as possible, lead times on hardware will still cause issues. Now, to help our clients navigate this, we at Grantek leverage a few different things. First being our distribution network. Now, with over 40 years of relationships, Grantek has a wide network of distributors that we can leverage to get you the hardware that you need. With many of these distributors having different levels of stock at their sites across the continent, Grantek can utilize our relationships with them to reduce the lead times for many different components. Now, second piece of this is Grantek's predictive procurement strategy. This strategy includes an analysis of all of our active projects and pending projects to identify common components, lead times, installation dates, and we maximize volume orders to increase the stock available to us at any given time. Now, Grantek as a whole handles and moves a large volume of automation hardware. Now, this hardware can often be shifted around to meet the needs of all of our clients without impacting other project schedules. Now, the third thing is our overall industry experience and our familiarity with hardware options across many different platforms. Now, this extensive knowledge allows us to specify alternative hardware options relatively easily, both within the same brand or different brands if acceptable. Now, these hardware alternatives can often be leveraged and introduced into your project design to greatly reduce the lead time while having a minimal impact on design rework and no impact on system functionality. Now, lastly, this doesn't directly pertain to project execution, but rather facility maintenance and general operations. Now, if you, like many others, you're just not quite sure if you have all spares available for all your process critical components in your facility, you may be at risk if something were to fail. Now, a year ago when lead times were less than a week, this may not be a huge risk. However, today, with lead times for common devices being beyond months, when production critical hardware fails, you may be down for a long time, much longer than anticipated. Now, to assist with these types of situations, Grantek offers critical spare assessments. Now, these assessments typically include a comprehensive on-site review of your facility's control system. We generate an asset list that can then be compared with the spare parts you have available on shelf. And then a gap analysis can be put together to develop and outline a suggested procurement list for all at-risk hardware. You may want to consider ordering that hardware now before anything fails. Getting ahead on this will not only allow you to be prepared for those worst case scenarios, but will also help you identify obsolete hardware and can assist with developing a modernization roadmap for your manufacturing site. So, in summary, the best course of action to mitigate supply chain risk is to act quickly and early. And our offered preliminary electrical design services can help you do just that. However, where acting early isn't feasible, we can also be there to help minimize the impact wherever possible. So if anyone out there has an upcoming project where you're concerned about lead times, or if you're currently executing a project suffering from delays due to the supply chain, or if you just want to ensure that you have the right spares on hand in case of a critical failure, reach out to me to learn how Grantek can help. So again, thank you for joining us today on You Asked, We Answered. If you have another question for Grantek, please include it in the comments or email info@grantek.com.